good morning. You're watching the market right here on 80 now, and what a rough day it turned out to be yesterday. Not for us as much as the globe, and we'll talk about the global handover as well. Having said that, for us, while we started off just about nimble-footed, dipped down about 0.5% from there, but the good thing is that so far the global weakness doesn't seem to be rubbing off on our markets, because if you look at the major part of yesterday's trading session, we were at best range bound, just about 0.3% lower. Yes, that downtick of 0.5% came by within the 9 minutes of trade as well. So the volatility was restricted to the first hour and the last hour, and was pretty sedate all through. But yes, the global cues, relentless selling for US equities continues.
Well, yes, the Dow, S&P, as well as the Nasdaq have now fallen 4 to 6% over the last 4 to 5 trading sessions. So pressure is evident. We also had negative commentary coming through with regard to how Sundar Pichai looks at AI and AI investing. That was the other very interesting piece that played out, at least in the US markets yesterday. Yes, so the cues remain negative. 500 points lower on the Dow, so clearly not a small quantum in terms of the impact. S&P and Nasdaq also weren't any better. Risk off mood evident, Sajid.
True. If you look at the Bank of America Fund Manager Survey, I think many of the funds in the US are sitting at the lowest level in terms of cash at 3.7%, and whenever that has happened, there's a lot of selling that comes into play, and that's what we are seeing in the global markets as well. And as we go into the next few days and weeks, you have Nvidia numbers coming out on Wednesday evening for India time, and then you have on Thursday coming September numbers for the employment data. It's not very clear when the October data is going to come in, but yeah, these two are key numbers to look out for with respect to the Fed policy, which is coming up in December, and the sentiments are almost building up for a no rate cut in December, and that's one of the reasons why you're seeing some of the US markets slip, and there is no there's some kind of negative sentiment coming in also from the valuations for AI stocks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ease off clearly doesn't seem like it's going to be ending anytime soon. And the big litmus test, of course, is going to be for Nvidia. While anticipation is that it's going to be an excellent number and will be a beat, but the question is whether Nvidia as a stock is priced to perfection or not, whether the good news is already baked in, and whether it's going to turn out to be a sell-on news story or not. But that this evening, but important developments tonight, and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has sharply increased Saudi Arabia's planned investment in the United States to nearly $1 trillion. That's up from the earlier $600 billion during a White House meeting with President Trump. In fact, the US president said that the investment would boost American jobs, while MBS called it a move driven by Saudi economic needs, particularly demand for advanced technology. In fact, the meeting marks a sharp reset in US Saudi ties after years of strain under the Biden administration, and now finally they seem to be shaking hands.
Not only that, they're talking of investments with respect to chips for their AI project, and when I was there in Riyadh, and that's a huge project they're working on. A lot of investment is now going into AI and computing in Saudi Arabia, and MBS is driving that there, and every fund manager that's coming in was talking about that Saudi is now trying to become a very AI centric country, which is there with respect to investment. So that's something very important, because he's trying to get sourcing for all the chips for his venture, which is there, and that's very close to Saudi Arabia's government, and that's an important thing. So when he says that he's going to increase it from 600 to $1 trillion, it's also meant that he's sourcing, making sure that his supply chain is clear with respect to whatever he needs for that AI capacity.
Right. Let's talk about let's talk more domestic. Let's talk about how flows shaped up between yesterday and today. Well, the DIIs have bought around 6,200 crore net buy figure, so that's a very strong net buy figure. Mind you, there's plenty of FI selling which also played out, and this has been the trend. Whenever we've seen markets fall in or some pressure on markets, we've seen DIIs come in and be big buyers, and that was the case, and that was part of the trend yesterday as well. FIs, despite all of the selling, Aisha and Sajid, FIs, the net sell figure isn't that large. You had Blackstone come in and sell nearly 4,500 crore
I
worth
don't
of
think Blackstone
emphasis.
will be counted as a FI.
No?
It's an FDI investment, so it's not calculated as an FI.
But I believe that FDI sits within the FI.
No, it's not. So
Okay.
for a calculation purposes, it's an FDI sale which has happened. So it will not show up as a net sell figure for them. But yes,
having said that, our markets were relatively okay.
yes,
I
because
mean,
it
you
was
weren't
happening in the block deal window.
anticipating,
It was happening in the block deal window,
Yeah.
right? So it's not disrupting the normal
Yeah.
trading there. But what is important is the mutual funds, 6,000 crores. So they're absorbing
Correct.
all the liquidity which is coming in.
Correct.
And till November,
wood to that.
yeah, till November 14th.
And look at that, and look at those numbers on your screen. Look at how DIs have bought consistently, and look at the quantum as well. It's not a small quantum. Outside of November 17th, they've bought 3,000 to 8,500 crore worth of.
True. So if I break down the DI into mutual funds, till November 14th, they were net buyers to the tune of 28,000 crores. So you add another 6 to 7,000 crores to it. So 35,000 crores out of net buying by mutual funds alone, which has happened in November for the market.
And that will provide that apt cushion to the index in any case, or to the markets overall. But let me take it across to Snehi, find out what the global commentary has been overnight. Snehi?
Oh, well, yes. Good morning. Let's take a look at how the global markets have shaped up. A very weak show coming in from the US markets, a fourth consecutive day of fall coming in. And this for the Dow Jones, a 4 consecutive day fall, is the longest streak of falling that they've seen since August. A 1% cut on Dow, almost 500 points lower. S&P is lower by about 1%. Nasdaq, the underperformer in the market, 1.2% lower on the back of Amazon as well as Google and Microsoft. Max 7 stocks, some of them have seen hits of about 3 to 4%. Nvidia was lower by about 3% ahead of its earnings today, so that is going to be one pack. And valuation around concerns around AI valuations, has been the talking point and the reason for the underperformance from the US market. Along with that, the Bitcoin has also briefly dropped below $90,000, although it picked up some momentum after that. You also had the Senate that has unanimously agreed to send the Epstein bill to Trump's desk once it is received in the House. What has Trump said on that? We'll get to that in just a moment. European markets, stock 600, the overall pan-European index is at a 1-month low. It was lower by about 2%. DAX, FTSE, CAC, all of them saw cuts anywhere between 1.7, 1.8%. So European markets were also tracking Wall Street losses and have ended in the red. Other than that, if you should focus to Asia, mixed trade coming in from Asia. Nikkei is doing very well because Japan GDP numbers, although they were soft, but they were much, much better than what the street was estimating. So on the back of that, you have the Asian markets actually doing pretty okay for themselves. Hang Seng is up 0.5%. Shanghai also about over there. Nikkei up about 0.8%. So looking good in Asia. Other than this, let's talk about precious metals. Gold was supported by soft US employment numbers, and that is seeing some gain once again. Silver is back above that $50 level, so that is positive for silver. Brent continues to be around $64, $65 per barrel. Dollar index has picked up some steam and once again is very close to that 100 mark. But shifting focus to some global comments, let's first understand what Donald Trump has said. Remember, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he met Trump at White House. And on the back of this meeting, Trump has designated Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally of the US. So that's a big development. US has solidified economic and defense partnership with Saudi Arabia. They've also agreed to approve the sale of chips to Saudi AI venture Human. So that is also going to be very important to watch. More importantly, on the Epstein bill, remember Trump had earlier said that he's not going to veto any bill that comes to the table on this, and now they have reached that stage. Trump has said he doesn't care whether the Senate passes the House bill tonight or any time later, and once again he went down a tweet on Truth Social reminding about what the US has done in terms of tariffs and reiterated the 8 wars that he has managed to stop, which included India and Pakistan as well. And lastly, comments coming in from Scott Bessent, the US Treasury Secretary, wherein he's saying he can safely say that he is not going to be the Fed chair. That's the big update coming in from Scott Bessent this morning. He's saying that Trump will hopefully meet the 3 Fed candidates post Thanksgiving, and hopefully by Christmas we should know who the next Fed chair is going to be. So that's the major update coming in on the Fed front from Scott Bessent. But that's the roundup on the global desk this morning. US and Europe quite tepid. Asia doing pretty okay for itself this morning.
Okay, so much for that, Snehi. Now, because AI is in the buzz at this point in time, markets across the globe seeing a little bit of pressure due to AI. But what does Vallabh Bhansali have to say about AI? Let's find out from an excerpt from the latest episode of ET Now Masterclass.
Every decade I've seen business houses wanting to start a finance company. Right from 85, 86 I've seen, and I handled some of those issues. And they come to grief because it's not their capability. Similarly, petrochemical, when Reliance was booming, people wanted to adopt the Reliance kind of style. So there will be some people who will get taken in. But say if I look at, say when Reliance started going up the ranks and became the largest company or a very large market cap company, I've had discussion with older business houses. They say, look, we get our time in the sun, somebody else gets a time in the sun. If we don't forget our business model. So the mature people are clever enough or wise enough not to get swayed by, some new business style narrative emerging. But if they fail to see the underlying technology, then it's trouble. Infosys brought governance. If you did not see the power of governance, you did not see the power of employee motivation, you were in trouble.